taxation. I know you kind of glossed over it, but I want to spend a little bit of time there. What happens? I'm going to buy a property in Florida.
As an investment property.
As an investment property. Great point, Laura.
Let's call it a second home.
Let's call it a second home. Well, because I'm going to use it as well. Yeah. So it will be a second home. But I'm going to rent it out at times. And I'm going to see $1,000 a month cash flow. After all my expenses, my mortgage, my insurance, my you guys call them HOA fees there, home ownership association, I guess, right? Which is
maintenance fees,
condo fees, strata fees, that what we call them here in Canada. Repairs, maintenance, all that. I'm going to net $1,000 a month, and then the property in 5 years, call it just for giggles and round numbers, it goes up by about $100,000. Okay, let's just for giggles, okay? And I want to sell that property in 5 years. First, my $1,000 a month. What happens with that? If let's just say I decide to leave it in an American account, okay? And then when I sell this property in 5 years for $100,000 and I do want to bring that money back into Canada, how does all this tax stuff work?
So I'm going to start off by saying that we obviously have a team of experts that we work with.
Yep.
And all of our Canadian friends and clients go through the process and have their questions answered because everybody's different.
Yes.
But in general, what we can say is whatever income that you are receiving from your property, you will be paying income tax on it, which is fine. There's a lot of expenses that will help reduce that income expense. And of course, if you're going to visit and you're flying over there and if you're actually doing some work in the property, your tax advisor will be able to offset some of those expenses as well for you. But, it's not going to be something that you need to worry about. Why? Because you have all the professionals that are there by your side aiding you through the process.
So now I'm going to pay to like the IRS.
Correct.
And then when I bring it here, does the CRA hit me with that as well?
I believe in Canada you have to claim world income, and that I would suggest talking to
my accountant here. Okay, great.
Now, so let's just break it up into a couple of steps. You're paying property taxes.
Yep.
You're paying taxes on your income that you generate from the property, and then you're going to end up paying capital gains taxes, right? What's interesting for a Canadian is Canada and the US has a reciprocity between both countries. So when you purchase your property, we will be assisting you by getting an ITIN number, an individual tax identification number, kind of like a SIN number.
Yep.
And then what's going to happen is they're not going to be concerned with taxing you on the capital gain per se. Because you're foreign national, they're going to take 15%, which is the current rate that it's at right now, for FRIPTA. I don't really remember what FRIPTA stands for, Foreign Real Estate Interest Tax, something, whatever it is.
Yep.
Google it. Basically, they're going to take it on the sale price. So let's say, for example, you bought it at 100, you sold it at 200, you made $100,000.
Yep.
They're going to withhold 15% of that.
Of the $100,000.
Of the $200,000.
$200,000. Okay, so $30,000.
Yep. Right? Now, there's ways in which you can minimize that exposure by getting a FRIPTA certificate and all this kind of stuff. It's a lot more detailed.
From what
and
you know,
complicated,
though, when you say they're going to hold it for $30,000,
IRS.
IRS is going to hold it.
And then what they're going to do is you're going to come back and file your taxes in Canada.
Yep.
And then based on whatever Revenue Canada says that you owe them,
yep,
they're going to take it from that $30,000 and either give you money back or
So essentially, I'm not really getting double tax then, from my understanding of it, which is fine.
Yeah.
I understand. I got to pay tax to somebody. I get that.
And you're a foreigner, so basically, what they're trying to do is make sure you don't run away without paying your taxes.
Okay. So here's my strategy.
And if I don't have it all right, by the way, I have the experts.
I'm not quoting you on it.
Yeah,
I get it. I understand. And the good thing is that you have the team, and even here, you got to be dealing with your accountant. So I mean, at the end of the day, the team's the team. For me, though, my strategy with the property that I got is to not necessarily bring any of that money back into Canada. What I'm planning to do, and tell me if I'm on the right path, is I'm going to refinance that property, pull out equity from that property so I can buy more properties in the States. Yeah. That's kind of my bank, that home. I always say that you can use any piece of real estate. Let me rephrase this. What I like to say is invest into real estate where you can use the property as an ATM.
Correct.
Meaning, if there's not going to be an ability for me to refinance, pull out cash, and go buy other properties, like my Jazz Takhar's portfolio, I'm probably not going to invest into that property. But here in the States, I can do this, right?
Yeah, and look at what's happening in the world right now. You know, stock market is tumbling. Crypto is, I don't know, market cap vanished by $1 trillion or whatever it is. Inflation is at a 40-year high. And what is the only asset class that has been able to hedge this inflation that we're going through? Real estate, of course. So if you're making money, if you're cash flowing, which is one thing that you could definitely do in Orlando that you can't do as much here, is get positive cash flow. Get that income stream that you have to go out and diversify, maybe bank it to go put a down payment somewhere else. You can hedge that against inflation. You can go out and build a portfolio of properties out there and really create something that you can pass on to your kids. And the beauty about it all is you're also doing all of that where your return is coming in US dollars.
Yeah.
So you're, like I said, also making a lift on the cash flow that you're getting when you exchange the funds over.
Yeah. Now, Laura, you talk about this with our clients a lot, right? The fact that you can have a cash flow investment, i.e. like a Florida, and then you can have an equity play, more like a pre-construction condo.
Yeah.
That, I mean, you
Yeah,
have
in any major city, yeah.
200 of our clients a year with that. What is it about like the pre-con in Toronto that always made you kind of bullish on it?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I like to invest where I live. So
Right.
like, particularly as a new investor, when I'm not that comfortable. So I live in Toronto, so it makes sense for me, again, talking about being a landlord and having to fix things or deal with problems. Like I can just drive there in 20 minutes. It's no big deal. And for me, Toronto is where a lot of the jobs are. And we're bringing in 500,000 people into Canada every single year, promised by the government. And about 300,000 of those people are coming to the greater Toronto area. So for me, I already know that we have a housing crisis. To me, that's only going to get worse. And so the cash flow is not that important to me right now, where I'm at in my life cycle. That might change in the future, but for right now, I actually think it's great not having the cash flow. I'd have to pay tax on it anyway.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, let's just invest where I know there's going to be continuous demand for the product.
And you also have the fact that, like, even when you say cash flow, like, I mean, even the properties that you've invested into, your rental income is going to cover all your expenses. You're just going to have neutral cash flow, right?
Yeah.
Once you take into consideration all the expenses.
I want to bring us to something because I've been sitting listening to this tax conversation, and as riveting as it is, I want to talk about
Tell me how you really
I
feel.
want to talk about the pests because when we were doing some pro formas, working on our Azure property specifically, and me just having lived in Florida for 8 months when I kind of add it all together.
I can't wait to hear
We
where you're going to go with
had
this.
now this was an oceanfront property.
We never know where the
this
fuck
was an
Alfon's going with our
oceanfront property. I'm
conversation.
not trying to scare people here, but oceanfront property. Woke up to, I called it a tarantula, but it was not a tarantula, in my bed. But for the people who are watching, probably with the legs included, this big. A
Were you
gecko
sleeping
on the
outside?
wall.
Were you sleeping
No,
outside?
just got through. Gecko on the wall, which was really adorable, actually.
Sounds more like
And-
India than it does Florida.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Like,
think
we
what
gotta-
other types
You know,
of
you can wear those
animals.
geckos as earrings, right?
They're so cute. They're like these little animals. Like, what's the pest situation like in Orlando? Because I feel like you have to factor that in a little bit more.
We
than
did.
perhaps we did.
And we
I
did
know,
into our
yeah.
performance, as you mentioned.
But the funny thing is,
Are there alligators coming into the properties here? Like, what's going on?
I got a pet alligator named Elvis that comes and hangs
And should
out in my
I turn
pool
that
all the
into
time.
some nice purses?
Or
Or?
shoes, for that matter. No, actually, I have never seen an alligator outside of a body of water. They don't walk around like lost raccoons or anything like that.
The raccoon
That's a shot at Toronto.
situation,
He gave us- he gave
worse
Toronto
than
It's funny
I
that
caught
you
his-
say, by the way, it's funny that you say that because I came into town and went to go visit my sisters, literally got out of the car, and right beside where they put all the plants in front of Loblaws was the largest raccoon I've ever seen in my
Yeah,
life.
we make them big here. We feed them well.
Oh my God, it was
we feed 'em
insane. It was like a baby bear or something.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, look, yes, they have little dinosaurs running around, which are little lizards. They get bigger as you get down south because people have, let loose their iguanas and stuff like that. So you see them running around, but not in the Florida area.